The message came on a Tuesday morning. It appeared on every screen, every phone, every television, and every radio on Earth at exactly the same moment. 8 billion people stopped what they were doing and watched as an alien face filled their screens for the first time in human history. The creature called itself Ambassador Varth. It stood nearly 8 feet tall, with dark green scales covering its body and yellow eyes that showed no warmth or kindness. Behind it, a massive ship floated in the blackness of space, larger than any city on Earth. Species designation: human, Varth said in a cold, mechanical voice. Planet designation: Earth. Your world has been assessed by the Galactic Council. You have been found insufficient. Your planet has been given to the Drovik Consortium for colonization. You have 30 standard cycles to move your population to the refugee zones on Kepler-4 42b. If you resist, your planet will be destroyed. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning. The screen went black. Around the world, panic began to spread. In the underground command center beneath the Pentagon, Admiral Nathan Cole stood perfectly still while chaos erupted around him. He was 57 years old, with short gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too many battles. Generals shouted at each other. Politicians demanded answers. Aides ran back and forth with reports that nobody was reading. Nathan watched the recording play again on the main screen. He was not panicking. He was thinking. Secretary of Defense Lisa Warren pushed through the crowd and grabbed his arm. Her face was white with fear. Admiral, the President needs options. Real options. Can we fight them? Can we negotiate? What do we do? Nathan turned to face her. His expression was calm, almost peaceful. Ma'am, do you remember the Black Prometheus program? Lisa stared at him. That was a theoretical exercise. A contingency plan that was never supposed to be used. Theory becomes practical when extinction is the alternative, Nathan replied. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number that existed in no official record. This is Admiral Cole. Authorization code 77 Alpha 9. Wake them up. All of them. 3,000 miles away, deep beneath the Nevada desert, lights began to turn on in hangars that did not officially exist. Row after row of warships sat in the darkness, waiting. They were not beautiful ships. They were not graceful or elegant. They were weapons, pure and simple, designed for one purpose only: to kill anything that threatened Earth. For 18 years, humanity's greatest secret had been hidden in these underground bases. After a crashed alien scout ship was discovered in the Pacific Ocean in 2006, world governments had come together in secret. They studied the wreckage. They learned its secrets. And then, instead of announcing their discovery to the world, they had started building 200 warships, the most advanced weapons ever created by human hands, all waiting for the day when the aliens returned. That day had come. Commander Kate Morrison stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance, watching her crew prepare for launch. She was 38 years old, with red hair pulled back in a tight braid and a long scar on her jaw from a construction accident. She had helped design these ships. She knew every system, every weapon, every strength and weakness. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Ryan Park, turned from his console. Commander, Admiral Cole is on the line. Kate pressed the button to accept the call. Nathan's face appeared on her screen, looking older than she had ever seen him. Kate, you've seen the broadcast? He asked. Yes, sir. The whole crew saw it. The President has authorized Operation Counterpunch. You have command of the fleet. I need you in space in 6 hours. Kate felt her heart beating faster, but she kept her voice steady. Understood, sir. We'll be ready. Kate, Nathan said, his voice softening slightly. I know I'm asking you to do something impossible, but if anyone can pull this off, it's you. We've been preparing for this for 18 years, sir. We're ready." Nathan nodded and cut the connection. Kate turned to face her bridge crew. They were young, most of them barely 30, but their eyes were hard with determination. They had trained their entire adult lives for this moment. "You all heard the alien," Kate said. "They expect us to run. They expect us to surrender our planet and become refugees. They think we're weak because we're young, because we've never traveled to the stars before." She paused, letting her words sink in. "They're wrong. We didn't build these ships to explore the galaxy. We built them because we knew deep in our bones that something was coming. Something hostile. And we decided that whatever came, we would face it standing up, not on our knees." The crew remained silent, hanging on her every word. "In 6 hours, we launch. In 12 hours, we meet the enemy. Some of us won't come back. But I promise you this, if we fall fighting. And we'll make them remember the day they threatened Earth." A voice called out from the back of the bridge. "What do we tell them, Commander? What's our message to the Council?" Kate smiled grimly. "Tell them Earth is not for sale. Tell them we don't surrender. Tell them we don't forgive and we don't forget. And tell them we're coming." Around the world, as news of the ultimatum spread, something unexpected began to happen. Instead of panic, instead of despair, humanity began to unite. Old enemies set aside their differences. Russia revealed its secret shipyards. China shared its shield technology. The European Union contributed its life support systems. For the first time in history, every nation on Earth stood together against a common threat. In homes and apartments, in villages and cities, people looked up at the stars with new eyes. Those lights in the sky were no longer distant dreams. They were battlefields waiting to be won. And humanity, young and fierce and stubborn as ever, was ready to fight. In the hangar beneath Nevada, the USS Defiance roared to life. Its engines hummed with power. Its weapon systems came online one by one. Around it, 199 other ships did the same. Their crews running final checks, saying silent prayers. Preparing for war. The countdown had begun. In 30 cycles, the aliens expected Earth to be empty. Its people scattered across the galaxy as homeless refugees. They would learn, very soon, just how badly they had misjudged humanity. The Galactic Council had ruled the known universe for 12,000 years. In all that time, no species had ever successfully resisted them. The process was always the same. Send a fleet. Issue demands. Watch the primitive creatures surrender. It was so simple that the Council had not updated its military tactics in over 3,000 years. There had been no need. High Commander Desik of the Drovic Consortium sat in his command chair, watching the blue planet called Earth grow larger on his view screen. He was bored. This mission was beneath him, really. The humans were a young species, barely capable of leaving their own atmosphere. They had discovered faster-than-light travel only 40 years ago, and only by accident, by finding a crashed scout ship and copying its technology. Pathetic, Desik thought. Like insects learning to use fire, his fleet of 50 warships hung in orbit around the planet's moon. Each ship was massive, armed with energy weapons that could melt continents. The humans had nothing that could threaten them. In a few cycles, they would begin their surrender, and Desik would claim this resource-rich world for the consortium. "High Commander," his sensor officer called out. "We are detecting multiple launches from the planet's surface." Desik waved his hand dismissively. "Probably they're primitive rockets." "Ignore them." "Sir, the readings are unusual. The energy signatures are much higher than expected. And there are many of them." Desik sat up slightly, his interest sparked for the first time. "How many?" The sensor officer was silent for a moment, checking his instruments twice to make sure they were working correctly. 200 vessels, sir. They are moving in formation toward our position. Desik laughed, a wet gurgling sound. 200? Against 50 of our warships? The insects have courage. I will give them that. Open a channel. Commander Kate Morrison's face appeared on his screen. She looked calm, almost relaxed, as if she was not about to lead her people into a hopeless battle. Human vessel, Desik said. I admire your courage, but this display is pointless. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. Turn back now, and I will show mercy. Continue, and I will destroy every ship in your fleet. Kate smiled slightly. Aye, Commander, I'm going to give you one chance. Take your fleet and leave our system. Tell the Council that Earth is not available for colonization. Do this, and no one needs to die today. Desik leaned forward. You threaten me? You are a mammal from a backwater planet. You have no understanding of what you face. I understand perfectly, Kate replied. You've been using energy weapons for thousands of years. Your shields are designed to stop energy beams. They're very good at that. She paused, her smile growing wider. But our weapons aren't energy beams. Desik opened his mouth to respond. But before he could speak, every alarm on his ship began screaming at once. The human fleet had fired, but not the bright beams of light the Council species used. Instead, long metal rods shot from the human ships at incredible speed. They were simple things, just tungsten and steel. But they were moving at 12% the speed of light. Physics did the rest. The first rod struck Desik's flagship and passed through its shields like they did not exist. Energy shields were designed to absorb and disperse directed energy. They had no defense against a physical object moving at relativistic speeds. The rod punched through the ship's hull, through its reactor core, and out the other side. The flagship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. Desik barely made it to an escape pod. As it tumbled away from the wreckage, he watched in horror as the human fleet systematically destroyed his entire command. The Council ships tried to fight back, but their weapons could not track targets moving so quickly. They tried to retreat, but the human ships had cut off their escape routes. They tried to surrender, but the humans were not accepting surrenders. Not yet. On the bridge of the Defiance, Kate watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. Her crews were performing perfectly, using the formations they had practiced thousands of times. Each ship covered the others, creating overlapping fields of fire that the Council vessels could not escape. Enemy flagship destroyed, Ryan reported. 3 more cruisers down. They're breaking formation. Don't let them regroup, Kate ordered. Alpha Wing, push them toward the asteroid belt. Beta Wing, cut off their retreat. I want every ship disabled or destroyed. The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, 47 of the 50 Council ships were nothing but debris floating in the void. 3 escape pods had been captured, including the one carrying High Commander the SSI Kate. Kate had the alien commander brought to her bridge. He stood before her in chains, his scales dull with shock, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. How? Desik demanded. How did you do this? Your species is young, primitive. You should not have weapons like this. Kate stepped closer to him. You gave us 40 years, High Commander. 40 years after your scout ship crashed on our planet. Did you think we would waste that time? Did you think we would just wait for you to come and take our world? She gestured at the view screen, where Earth hung blue and beautiful in the distance. We watched your ship. We studied your technology. And then we asked ourselves a simple question. How do we beat something stronger than us? The answer was simple. We don't fight the way you expect. We don't play by your rules. We make our own rules." Thesic stared at her, seeing something in her eyes that he had not seen in thousands of years of conquest. He saw no fear, no desperation. He saw the cold, calculating look of a predator. "You will return to the council," Kate said. "You will tell them what happened here. You will tell them that Earth is defended. And you will tell them that if they send another fleet, we will destroy that one too." She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. "We don't forget, High Commander. And we don't forgive. Remember that." The escape pod was released, programmed to carry Thesic back to Council space. As it disappeared into the darkness, Kate turned to her crew. "Send a message to Admiral Cole. Tell him the first battle is won. Tell him Earth is secure." Ryan looked up from his console, his face shining with relief and pride. "What about the Council, Commander?" "They'll send more ships." Kate nodded slowly. "I know. This was just the beginning. They'll come back with everything they have." She looked out at the stars, her expression hardening. "And we'll be ready for them." On Earth, the news of the victory spread like wildfire. People danced in the streets, crying and laughing. For the first time in 30 days, they felt hope. The aliens had come expecting to find easy prey. Instead, they had found humanity. The war for survival had only just begun. But humanity had drawn first blood. And they had shown the galaxy that Earth would not go quietly into the night. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from over 100 species screamed at each other, their voices overlapping in a storm of accusations and fear. Holographic displays showed the battle footage on repeat. Council warships exploding one after another. Destroyed by weapons that should not have existed. Ambassador Vorath stood at the center of the chamber, watching the footage for the 20th time. His scales had turned pale with shock. Around him, species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years were experiencing something they had never felt before: real fear. "This is impossible," shouted Delegate Prin of the Vthane hegemony. She was tall and thin, with skin that glowed softly with blue light. The humans were supposed to be primitives. Our scouts observed them for decades. They had no weapons capable of this. "They hid them," Vorath said quietly. The chamber fell silent. "They found our crashed scout ship. They studied it. And then they built in secret, underground, where our satellites could not see. They prepared for us while pretending to be helpless." Elder Morath of the Collective Synthesis leaned forward. He was ancient, over 2,000 years old, and his body was a strange mix of organic and mechanical parts. "The humans reverse-engineered our technology in 40 years. It took the Drelvik 200 years to do the same. It took my own people 3 centuries. We assumed this meant they were inferior. What does it mean?" asked Prin. Morath's many eyes blinked slowly. "It means they are not inferior at all. They are simply young. And they are extremely, terrifyingly aggressive." High Commander Thesic had been rescued from his escape pod and now stood before the council in disgrace. His voice shook as he described the battle. The speed of the human weapons, the precision of their tactics. "They did not fight like any species I have encountered," Thesic said. "They were coordinated, ruthless. When our ships tried to surrender, they ignored us and kept firing. It was only after every vessel was destroyed that they accepted prisoners. They wanted to send a message," Vorath realized. "They wanted us to see what they could do." The Supreme Chancellor of the Council, a massive creature called Droth, who had held his position for 600 years, finally spoke. His voice boomed through the chamber like thunder. "Enough. This is one lost battle, nothing more. The humans have 200 ships. We have thousands. We will send an overwhelming force and crush them. Their planet will burn, and their species will serve as an example to any other primitives who might think to resist us." but not everyone agreed. Prin stepped forward, her glowing skin pulsing with anxiety. Supreme Chancellor, perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans have offered diplomatic relations. If we keep attacking them, we risk losing more ships, more resources. The other conquered species are watching. If they see us fail again, silence. Droth roared. The Vethany will remember their place. You were conquered. You serve. That is the natural order. Prin stepped back, but her eyes burned with something that looked almost like hope. Back on Earth, President Daniel Brooks addressed the United Nations. The General Assembly Hall was packed with representatives from every nation, all united for the first time in human history. 6 days ago, we were told to abandon our world or die, Brooks said. His voice was steady, filled with quiet confidence. We chose to fight. And today, I am proud to announce that our fleet has won the first battle of the war. The hall erupted in cheers. Representatives hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. For weeks, they had lived in fear. Now, finally, they had reason to hope. But this victory is only the beginning, Brooks continued. The Council will return. They will bring more ships, more weapons. We must prepare. Every factory on Earth will now produce materials for the fleet. Every scientist will work on new weapons. Every person who can serve will be trained. He paused, looking out at the assembled leaders. We are no longer separate nations fighting over borders and resources. We are humanity, one species, one family, and we will defend our home together or die trying. In the Pentagon, Admiral Nathan Cole met with military leaders from around the world. The Russians had revealed 2 secret shipyards in Siberia, already producing new vessels. The Chinese had contributed breakthrough technology for shields that could stop kinetic weapons. The Europeans had developed new life support systems that could keep crews alive for years in space. The Second Fleet will be ready in 3 months, reported General Wei of China. 150 ships, all using the new shield technology. The Third Fleet will follow in 6 months, added General Petrov of Russia. 200 ships. Nathan nodded, studying the holographic map of the solar system. Good. We need to establish defensive positions throughout the system. The Moon, Mars, the asteroid belt. We turn the entire solar system into a fortress. Dr. Amy Chun, the lead scientist of the weapons program, pulled up new data on her tablet. We've been studying the wreckage from the Council ships. Their technology is more advanced than ours in most ways, but it has one fatal flaw. It hasn't changed in thousands of years. They stopped innovating because they had no competition. And us? Nathan asked. Amy smiled. We've been competing with ourselves since we crawled out of the caves. Evolution through conflict is what we do. Give us 6 months, and we'll have weapons that make our current ones look like toys. On the Moon, in a newly constructed military base, Rear Admiral Kate Morrison trained the next generation of officers. She pushed them hard, knowing what was coming. The Council would not accept defeat. They would return with everything they had. You think the first battle was hard? She told her students. That was nothing. The Council was arrogant. They underestimated us. They won't make that mistake again. Next time, they'll come with hundreds of ships. Thousands, maybe. And we need to be ready. A young officer raised her hand. Ma'am, what if we can't win? What if they're just too strong? Kate considered the question carefully. Then we make them bleed for every inch of space. We make victory so expensive that they'll think twice before attacking another species. Even if Earth falls, we'll have shown the galaxy that the Council is not invincible. She looked out the window at the blue Earth hanging in the black sky. But I don't plan on losing. We've surprised them once. We'll surprise them again. Because that's what humans do. When someone puts us against the wall, we don't give up. We fight harder. We think faster. We find a way. Somewhere in deep space, 400 Council warships were already assembling. The largest fleet in 1,000 years, gathered for one purpose: to destroy humanity and restore the Council's reputation. The second battle was coming, and it would make the first look like a small skirmish. But humanity was not afraid. They had seen what they could do. They had tasted victory, and they were hungry for more. 6 months after the first battle, the Council's revenge fleet arrived. 400 warships jumped into the outer solar system, the largest military force assembled in 1,000 years. They came from 6 different species, all loyal to the Council, all determined to wipe humanity from existence. Admiral Nathan Cole had been expecting them. Human satellites had detected the fleet's approach days in advance, giving the defense forces time to prepare. The human fleet, now 350 ships strong, waited near Jupiter, using the gas giant's massive gravity to limit the enemy's movement. Nathan stood on the bridge of the command ship USS Resolution, watching the enemy fleet appear on his tactical display. Each red dot represented a ship that wanted to destroy his homeworld. 400 to 350. Bad odds. All ships, report ready status, Nathan ordered. One by one, the fleet commanders checked in. Rear Admiral Kate Morrison commanded the attack wing from the Defiance. Captain Maria Santos led the heavy cruiser division. Commander Chris Taylor commanded the fast assault ships. All of them were young, determined, and ready to die for Earth. Enemy fleet is advancing, the sensor officer reported. They're forming a standard Council battle formation. 3 waves with their heavy ships in the center. Nathan studied the formation carefully. The Council had learned nothing from the first battle. They were still using the same tactics they had used for thousands of years. Overwhelming force, direct assault, no creativity. They were counting on numbers to win. Nathan intended to show them why numbers were not enough. All ships, execute Operation Hammer. Attack wings 1 through 3, begin flanking maneuvers. Heavy cruisers, hold position and draw their fire. Fast assault ships, wait for my signal. The battle began. Human ships darted around the slower Council vessels, firing their kinetic weapons in controlled bursts. The Council had adapted somewhat. Their new shields were stronger, able to stop some of the slower projectiles. But the humans had adapted too. Their new weapons were faster, more accurate, and carried explosive payloads that detonated inside enemy ships. The first Council wave crumbled within an hour. But the enemy commander was smart. He held back his heavy ships, letting the smaller vessels absorb the damage while he searched for weaknesses in the human formation. He found one. "Admiral," shouted the sensor officer. "A group of 30 Council ships has broken through our left flank. They're heading directly for Earth." Nathan's blood went cold. The enemy had sacrificed dozens of ships just to create that opening. And now 30 warships were racing toward his homeworld at maximum speed. "Get them," Nathan ordered. "Send everything we have?" "Sir, if we pull ships from the main battle, we'll be outnumbered. We could lose." Nathan closed his eyes for a moment. This was the choice every commander feared. Risk the battle or risk the planet. Before he could decide, a voice crackled over the comm. "Admiral, this is Commander Scott Hayes on the Valor. My ship is closest to the breakthrough. Request permission to intercept." Nathan checked the tactical display. The Valor was a small destroyer, designed for speed and scouting. Against 30 heavy cruisers, it would be destroyed in minutes. "Scott, you can't win that fight. Fall back and wait for reinforcements." "With respect, sir, there's no time. If those ships reach Earth, millions will die. My crew has discussed it. We volunteer." There was silence on the bridge. Every officer knew what Scott was saying. He was volunteering to die. Nathan's voice was thick with emotion. "Scott, are you sure?" "Yes, sir. It's been an honor serving with you. Tell my family I love them." The Valor's engines flared as it shot toward the enemy formation. 30 Council ships against one small destroyer. It should have been over in seconds, but Scott Hayes was not planning to fight. He was planning to delay. The Valor weaved between the enemy ships like a dancer, never staying still long enough to be hit. Scott used every trick he knew, every dirty tactic he had learned in years of training. He aimed for engines instead of weapons, crippling ships instead of destroying them. He flew so close to the enemy hulls that their guns could not track him. For 2 hours, Scott Hayes held off 30 ships. When the Valor's weapons ran dry, he used the ship itself, ramming into enemy engines and tearing off critical systems. When the ship finally exploded, struck by a lucky shot from a Council cruiser, it had disabled 17 enemy vessels. Those 2 hours were enough. Kate, Morrison's attack wing, arrived just as the Valor died. Fresh and furious, they tore into the remaining Council ships with savage precision. None of the breakthrough force reached Earth. Back at Jupiter, the main battle was ending. With Kate's wing returning to support them, the human fleet had turned the tide. The Council's heavy ships, so confident at the start of the battle, were now surrounded and outgunned. By the end of the third day, the Council fleet was in full retreat. Of 400 ships, fewer than 60 escaped. Human losses were serious. 42 ships destroyed. Over 6,000 crew members dead. Among them, Commander Scott Hayes and his crew of 30 volunteers. A funeral was held on the moon a week later. A new cemetery was established there, looking out at the Earth that Scott had died to protect. It was called the Memorial Fields, and it would grow much larger before the war was over. Admiral Nathan Cole spoke at the ceremony, his voice heavy with grief and pride. Scott Hayes was a hero, but he would tell you he was just doing his job. That's what makes humans special. We don't wait for someone else to solve our problems. When we see something that needs to be done, we do it, even if it costs us everything. He looked out at the assembled crowd. Thousands of soldiers and civilians gathered to honor the fallen. The Council thought they could break us with numbers. They thought if they sent enough ships, we would surrender. They were wrong. They will always be wrong. Because we don't fight for power or territory. We fight for each other. For our families. For our home. After the ceremony, Kate found Nathan standing alone, looking at Earth. "They'll come back," she said. "With more ships. More weapons." Nathan nodded slowly. "I know, but something has changed. The Council is scared now. And the other species they've conquered, the ones who have been watching this war, they're starting to ask questions." "What kind of questions?" Nathan turned to face her. "If humans can beat the Council, why can't we? The Council has ruled through fear for 12,000 years. We've just shown everyone that they're not invincible." He smiled grimly. "This war isn't just about Earth anymore. It's about everyone who's ever been conquered, enslaved, or threatened by the Council. And I think we're about to get some allies." As if on cue, a message arrived from deep space. A small ship was approaching the solar system, carrying representatives from the Vethany hegemony. They wanted to talk about rebellion. 2 years had passed since the first alien message arrived on Earth. In that time, everything had changed. The small Vethany ship that arrived after the Battle of Jupiter was only the beginning. Delegate Prin had come with a simple message. Her people wanted freedom, and they believed humanity could help them get it. The Vethani had been conquered by the Council 800 years ago. For generations, they had served as loyal subjects, too afraid to resist. But watching the humans defeat 2 Council fleets had given them something they had not felt in centuries: hope. More species followed. The Morath, a peaceful people who had been enslaved for their scientific knowledge. The Crow, fierce warriors who had been forced to fight in council armies against their will. The Tizani, whose homeworld had been stripped of resources and turned into a mining colony. One by one, they came to Earth, offering their support in exchange for a chance at freedom. Admiral Nathan Cole formed them into a fighting force called the Coalition of Free Species. Human shipyards worked day and night, producing vessels for the combined fleet. Human tactics were taught to alien commanders who had only known the rigid, predictable strategies of the Council. Human determination, once dismissed as primitive aggression, became the Coalition's greatest strength. Now, 2 years later, the Coalition fleet numbered over 1,000 ships. They hung in formation at the edge of Council space, preparing for the final battle. Their target was Thesser Prime, the Council's capital world. Victory there would mean the end of 12,000 years of tyranny. Nathan stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, the fleet's new flagship. He was 60 years old now, his hair completely white, his body tired from years of war. But his eyes were still sharp, still filled with the same determination that had carried humanity through its darkest hours. Rear Admiral Kate Morrison stood beside him, studying the tactical display. "The Council has assembled everything they have left," she said. 500 ships defending the planet, plus orbital defense stations and ground-based weapons. Nathan nodded. "They know this is their last stand. If we break through, the war is over. Are we ready?" Nathan looked out at the fleet spread before them. Human ships flew alongside Vethani cruisers and Krill warships and more science vessels. 100 different species, all united against a common enemy. "We've been ready for 2 years," he said. "Today, we finish what they started." He opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Cole. Today, we fight for freedom. Not just for humanity, but for every species that has suffered under the Council's rule. For centuries, they told us to be afraid. They told us resistance was pointless. They told us that the strong rule and the weak serve." His voice grew stronger. "We proved them wrong. With 200 ships, we broke their first fleet. With 350, we shattered their revenge force. Today, with 1,000 ships and the courage of 12 species, we end their reign forever." He paused, letting his words sink in. Attack. The Battle of Thesser Prime was the largest military engagement in galactic history. 1,000 Coalition ships against 500 Council defenders, plus all the weapons the capital world could bring to bear. The space around the planet became a storm of fire and metal, ships exploding like fireworks in the darkness. Kate led the attack wing, diving straight at the enemy's defensive line while the rest of the fleet provided covering fire. The Defiance had been upgraded with Vethani shields and Krill weapons, making it deadlier than ever. "All fighters, follow me," she ordered. "We punch through their center and head straight for the orbital stations. If we take those out, the ground defenses will be blind." Coalition ships fell around her, destroyed by the desperate fire of Council defenders. But for every Coalition ship that died, 3 Council ships were destroyed. The Council had technology, but the Coalition had something more powerful. People who believed in what they were fighting for. 12 hours into the battle, Kate's wing broke through. The orbital stations fell one by one, their massive weapons silenced forever. With their eyes in the sky gone, the Council's ground forces were helpless against the Coalition's bombardment on the surface of Thesser Prime. Human and alien soldiers fought side by side against the Council's lost defenders. Commander Derek Marshall led the assault on the Grand Chamber itself, blasting through doors that had stood for 10,000 years. Ambassador Vorath was waiting inside, along with the Supreme Chancellor and the other Council leaders. They had expected to be executed. Instead, Derek offered Vorath his hand. "You're under arrest for crimes against sentient species," Derek said calmly. "You'll receive a fair trial. That's how we do things." Vareth stared at him in confusion. Why? After everything we did to your people? Why show mercy? Derek holstered his weapon. Because that's what makes us different from you. We didn't fight this war to become you. We fought it to become better. The Galactic Council fell that day. In its place, humanity helped build something new. The Assembly of Sovereign Worlds. Every species had an equal voice, regardless of their technology or military power. Earth became not the ruler of this new order, but its guardian, a role humanity accepted with characteristic determination. A ceremony was held on Desser Prime a month later, broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. President Rebecca Torres, who had taken office after President Brooks retired, addressed the assembly. 2 years ago, we were told to surrender our world or die. We chose a third option, and we didn't fight alone. The courage of the Vithani, the wisdom of the Morath, the strength of the Krill, the dedication of a dozen species who refused to accept tyranny. This victory belongs to all of us. She paused, looking out at the sea of alien faces gathered before her. The old council believed that might makes right. They believed the strong should rule the weak. We believe something different. We believe that freedom is not given. It is earned. We believe that every species deserves the chance to reach for the stars on their own terms. And we believe that together, we are stronger than any empire that seeks to dominate us. Watching from the Liberty's bridge, Admiral Nathan Cole felt something he had not felt in years. Peace. The war was over. Humanity had survived. And more than that, they had helped create a galaxy where freedom was possible. Kate Morrison stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. Do you think it will last? Peace, I mean. Nathan considered the question. Maybe not forever. But that's the point, isn't it? We keep fighting for it. We keep earning it. That's what being human means. The Liberty turned toward home, leading the fleet back to Earth. Behind them, a new era was beginning. An era built not on conquest, but on cooperation. Not on fear, but on hope. Humanity had answered the ultimatum not with surrender, but with warships. And in doing so, they had changed not just their own destiny, but the destiny of every species brave enough to dream of freedom. The stars, once cold and threatening, now seemed full of possibility. And humanity, young and fierce and endlessly determined, was ready to explore them all. The war was over. The future had just begun.